welcome to the In the Midst of Growth podcast, where we talk about everything growth. And today I have with me Jason Honeycutt, who is official title, who I think I got this right now, is Program Development Manager.
Got it.
At Dynamic Life Recovery Community.
Yeah.
Got it. Aced it. So Jason's been a friend of mine for some years now. He's a father, a husband.
Baby on the way.
Baby on the way. Okay, so I always mess our timeline up here. You tell me when you got to Dynamic when we met. What year was that for you?
Okay, so
because I always say the. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was still pretty shot out,
Yes,
but
yes.
this is how I remember it.
Okay.
It was 2018.
Okay. Do you remember the month?
Okay, let's see. January, February, March. It had to probably be in the beginning of March or
March
mid-March
of 18.
or the end of February. So somewhere in end of February, mid-March, somewhere in there.
Okay. That's why I get confused because
Depends on when you came in. Just go back to the day you came in,
That's why
bro.
I get it messed up because I came twice. So the first
second
time, I
time.
know, but I don't remember. I
You don't
remember
remember. There's the
specifically it was August 1st, 2017 when I
No, yeah, I
got
wasn't there
here.
yet. I was still out and about.
And I was there for August, September, October, November-ish. I think I left there around the holiday time.
Okay.
And then I was not there for 3 or 4 months, and that's why I don't know when it was that I got back.
You came back because I know my timeline decently.
Because I only came back for 30 days, and that's when we met.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was like March-ish?
Yeah.
Okay.
End of February, March-ish. Correct. Somewhere in there. I can't.
And that was your first and only time there,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Okay.
First and only time at Dynamic. Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Because then the reason it confuses me is because really I was at Dynamic 3 times.
I know.
Twice when it was
Treatment.
the center, and then I came back to live there most recently. Now I left 2 years ago or whatever
Yeah.
it was.
You were there, and I was not working there.
Yes.
And then I got the job and came on.
Yes.
And you were there.
Yes.
So that was kind of weird. We had a little bit of a, I don't know what you want to call that, but because we were friends, but yet I was a manager Dynamic and you were like a client resident.
My ego didn't like that.
Yeah.
That's what that was.
And I was navigating that, which was
Yeah.
very difficult for me at the time
Yeah.
to learn how to navigate that, to be like, okay,
Which-
I'm friends with these people, but now I have to hold them accountable and get up in their lane, and I'm not used
Yeah.
to doing that because I was very good at staying in my own lane when I lived at Dynamic.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a difficult thing to navigate, 100%.
I think
but it was fun.
You did a good job with it. That's a tough learning curve because
We
that's
all make
like
mistakes,
it's-
but you learn from those
Yeah,
mistakes.
well, yeah, and I think the only thing I can relate to that in the smallest bit is, getting a small promotion at work to where it's like I'm kind of in this managerial position where now I'm, not trying to like elevate myself, but I'm like a little bit above like where I used to be, and it's like all these people I used to work with, I'm now like a little bit of an authority over. So it's a weird adjustment.
Yes, exactly.
is.
And that's exactly what it was, is, having that authority or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
Yeah,
know what I mean?
and know where to walk that line of
Yep,
like
exactly.
Yeah, that's a tough learning curve.
Yeah, you have to wear a couple hats, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you have to compartmentalize.
Right.
Or I don't know, maybe you're not supposed to, but that's what I do.
Yeah. No, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
But our meeting story is funny.
Yeah.
So it was March of 2018.
Yep.
All right, so
Because I came in January 2018. And I know that you came in when I was already at level 3 because I was working a job.
Yes, you were working at the hotel.
Correct.
All right.
So that's how I know it was a couple months later.
The day I got back, that this time we're talking about, it was you were not there. You were at work.
Yes,
and
I
they
was at
said,
work.
there's another guy here, whatever. Because it was me. It was only you and what's his name? Brian
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You and Brian were the only guys in there, and then I became
really?
I became
Okay.
the third. There wasn't a fourth.
That's a good group
So
right there.
me and Brian were in the same room, and you were in the other room. I got put in Brian's
you
room.
became the third.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah, there wasn't 4 in there.
Gotcha.
Or there wasn't 3, and I made the 4th. I became the 3rd.
You became the third,
Yeah.
exactly.
So you were working, like overnight, or you were
So I
working weird
worked-
hours.
I worked, so this is the part where I can't remember exactly, But I believe what happened was I got off at 11, but had to be back at work at 7 a.m. And
So
it was
maybe,
that morning. But I'm not positive about that.
I don't know either.
It
Because
could have been in the middle of the night even.
yeah, that's what it felt like to me, because Brian was definitely sleeping. Like, it was
Yes.
nighttime. He was definitely sleeping, and I couldn't sleep. Now, I just don't remember if I woke up and, like, couldn't go back to sleep, so it was more morning, or it was, like, the night still.
It may
and
have
I
been
was,
early morning, like
But
3,
you would have
4,
gotten home at 11 p.m.-ish or sometime after
like
that?
midnight.
So maybe it was that time or shortly after. I don't know. But I'm in...
Either in midnight or early morning. Very early morning, like
put it this
5
way.
a.m.
It was the middle of the night.
Yeah.
We had
The
not...
sun had not come up.
Correct.
Right.
And we had not actually met yet.
No.
I don't even know. Did you expect somebody new to
No,
be there?
they
Yes.
they did not even. No one told me nothing. That hey, new guy's coming in. No heads up whatsoever.
Which would have been nice to know, right?
Yeah.
Especially coming home at midnight.
Yeah.
So I'm in. All right. So the way this this apartment, let's call it, is set up is it's a 2-bedroom apartment with 1 external bathroom. So there's not like a master bed. So it's 2 separate bedrooms,
Right.
1 hallway, let's call it, bathroom, and then like kitchen, living room area.
Yep.
And they had 2 beds in each room. So
Right, 2 twin beds in each room.
yeah. So like 4 guys to one of these apartments, and at the time, that's what I'm saying, I was the third. So me and the guy Brian are in one room, Jason's in the other room at the time by himself. So it's the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Brian's sleeping, so I have the light off, and I remember I was like going through my things. I was like unpacking.
Yep.
I didn't know.
I remember
was just
that for
kinda,
sure. You were definitely like packing stuff in the closet or something.
Yeah, I just couldn't sleep. I was like restless, so I started putting my things away that I hadn't done yet.
I'm already
or whatever.
laughing thinking about it.
So yeah, that's set the stage here. I'm in the dark.
Yeah.
I'm in the dark in this room.
Yeah, like creeper.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to be polite to this etiquette for here,
True,
roommates,
true.
right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. You do
I'm
the
doing
whole
whatever.
flashlight thing. I
Yeah.
remember those days.
Oh, I
for
don't
sure.
even.
That's what
I didn't
I
even
did.
have a cell phone. Couldn't have
Right.
them.
Yeah. I don't know if I had a cell phone either. Maybe that's
You
why
may
they
have,
didn't give
'cause you
me.
were working.
They would let you take your cell phone to work.
Yeah.
I don't know if that point though I had a cell phone because I didn't get a cell phone.
Yeah.
Till my parents came to visit and they bought me one.
Oh, okay.
Because I came to treatment with no cell phone. It
Okay.
had cracked and got destroyed a week before I came in.
That was probably for the best.
Yeah, probably.
So yeah, I'm shuffling around, putting stuff away, trying to like be quiet, and I'm in the dark already. And this part I don't exactly remember. I don't know if I heard you walk in. Like, I don't know if you just entered the apartment.
No, I don't think so. I think you looked up and just saw this
Yes,
dark figure
yeah.
staring
Well,
you down.
There was a light out in the kitchen or something. So from my
'cause-
perspective, the light was behind you.
Correct.
And you're just standing there in the doorway, literally just standing there, not moving, but I know you're facing me and staring at me.
Yeah.
And I look to like the side, and I'm waiting for some kind of icebreaker, like you to say, "Who are you?" or something, because that's obviously what was feeling like, "Who's this guy?"
Yeah.
And you said nothing, bro,
Right,
and just
right.
stared at me. And I stood up. I was like, "Are we gonna have a problem here?"
Yeah. But you said it with a tone and like totally like, yeah, just like, we got a problem here? You know what I mean? Like just one of those, probably even deeper voice, like just one of those like,
It was a tense situation.
it was a tense situation.
And
yeah.
here's the thing: you remained silent. You were like starstruck. It seemed like you didn't know. You were trying to figure out who and what was going
I was
on,
processing.
but you didn't say anything.
Right.
That's what made it worse for me. I'm like, "What's this guy doing?"
Right. I think at some point I literally, like, you said that, and I was like, "Oh, okay." And in my mind, I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I said out loud, I go, "No problem," and kind of just walked away. I was like, "What did I just get myself into?"
And we talked about it later, and this is still obviously something we laugh about. But you thought I was Brian, but you're like, "What is Brian doing in there?" And
Right.
then you're trying to figure out, well, oh, that's not Brian. And you didn't know
So,
somebody else
yeah.
was moving in.
Right. From my perspective, I didn't know what was going on, but I was groggy.
Yeah.
And from whatever, I woke up early to get ready for work, and I had worked the night before, so I was doing that back to back, getting off 11, start again at 7. I was either doing one of those, or it was middle of the night where I just woke up and like got a drink of water or something. So I was half asleep.
Yeah.
Basically, is the
I
point
think
here.
you had gotten home from I'm pretty sure you had just gotten in. from work. I don't think you like got up from sleeping.
It's possible,
I'm not sure
but then,
though.
and I could have just been tired from working or whatever. I don't
Yeah.
know, but I remember being like groggy and tired.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong on that because once again, that's hard to remember.
It was
exactly.
regardless. It was the
that time.
middle of the night.
Yeah, I just remember kind of just being like half asleep, you know, and I easily could have been like that, getting off work for sure.
Yeah.
Half asleep, you know, still getting used to that schedule, and so I'm half asleep. And there's someone in the room that's not mine, like you said, the opposite room.
Shuffling
It's
around in the dark.
So I'm standing there looking, saying to myself, what's Brian doing?
Yeah.
But then I say, wait, but that's not Brian. Brian's
Yeah.
a very tall
Yeah.
person. This person's not that tall. Okay. He's in this room right now, shuffling around through Brian's stuff.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah.
So as I'm kind of processing that, you look up
Right.
right at me with a
Yeah.
dead stare and go,
Yeah.
we got a problem here? And I was just like,
dude, I'm shot out still, right? I'm clearly restless
both
and not
were.
able to sleep, and I just see this silhouette in the door, like just staring me down is what it
Yeah.
looks like to me.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. You're figuring out the situation. I'm figuring out the situation, but
so then, basically later on, we figured out that, okay, a new guy came in, obviously. And
yeah, I don't even know if we
didn't it
talked
was-
at that moment. I think we just kind of separated.
No,
and-
yeah, it was very awkward.
Yeah,
Very awkward, a lot of
yeah.
tension. You know what I mean? We literally, I just said, I would basically was like, no, we got no problem here. Nope. Got my drink of water, went back in my room. You know what I mean? I was just like, okay, that was weird. I don't know when it was. Honestly, I don't remember the conversation after that. It was probably a good 12 to 24 hours later.
Yeah, it was like the next day. Easy.
And we kind of just squashed it, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I think we're buds ever since, dude. Honestly.
Well, yeah. After that, it was just normal. It's just such a funny, weird start to me and your relationship. Now,
Yeah.
years later, it's just like it's a funny.
Hey,
funny
like
story.
you said, you like the meeting stories or whatever, and it's a good one.
Yeah. Wait, which one?
How we met.
Oh! I thought you meant a meet. Yeah. So March-ish, 2018. Mm-hmm. So you had already been there for a couple months. I'm just getting there. So why don't we do this? Go back as far as you'd like, and tell me how, why, where, when you got to that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so just like a little background. I was born and raised in Northern Virginia. Very good area, quite wealthy. It's outside, about a half hour outside of D.C. And good childhood, bro. Good childhood. Very loving, caring parents, brother and sister. A lot of friends, very popular in like grade school, and really no excuse to be like a hardcore addict, alcoholic. I think it was mainly my environment. I grew up, I looked up to my brother big time, my brother Troy. He was a major influence in my life. Like, I wanted to be him, bro. I always wanted to hang out with him and his friends. Like, I just thought he was the coolest guy in the world. And what I observed him doing was smoking marijuana and drinking alcohol. You know what I mean? So I said, that's what I want to do. That's the cool thing. That's what cool kids do. And
How much older is...
He's 4 years older than me.
Okay.
My sister is 8 years older than me. We're all 4 years apart.
Okay.
And I'm the youngest of my family.
Okay.
And I saw the same thing from my sister, just less though, because she had that large 8 years on me. So you know what I mean? Drinking and smoking was the norm. And literally, I had the desire to, like, be the partier. Like, at a very young age, I remember being like, that's what I want to do.
That's attractive.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And so that's what I did. So at a very, very, very early age, I was drinking and smoking marijuana and experimenting in that.
How old do you think? What was early for you?
Well, I don't remember the exact
Like
age.
5 or
no.
10,
I got
15?
drunk for the first time probably at like 9 or 10 years old.
Okay, so that's fairly young.
Yeah.
That's still like grade school.
I can't. Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
definitely grade
Yeah.
school. Oh, I was
9, 10. That's like 4th, 5th grade.
I think I was in 5th grade.
Okay,
I believe I got drunk for the first time in 5th grade, and
Was it with Troy or?
So I remember for sure he wouldn't let me do that stuff, but I'd
Okay.
be like around it. And so he would go, we were in a basement because it's Northern Virginia.
Yeah.
He went upstairs to keep taking a piss because you're drinking alcohol. You got to go pee a lot, right? And his friend he was sitting there with, like his best friend at the time, leans over to me because I'm just there. And he's like, don't give Jason any. Don't give Jason any. But he would go upstairs to piss and be like, chug
Here you
this
go.
real quick.
Yeah,
and I'd
yeah,
take
yeah.
that beer and chug it down as fast as I could.
Okay.
So I remember we went to the community pool though after I was wasted and I could not swim, and I'm a good swimmer, and I couldn't swim, and I was like, I'm drowning, like was just slam drunk. And like a year later, maybe even a couple years later, I remember the lifeguards, a couple of them still work there, and they're like, oh yeah, you were wasted that day. We all knew. We all knew. You know what I mean?
This 10-year-old.
Yeah, this 10-year-old, literally. And so, but really didn't start regularly. I pretty much just kept on experimenting here and there. But by the time I was 15 years old, even sooner than that, but just to mark it as a good
Like
age.
high school.
Yeah, 15 years old, 8th grade, which is, I guess, middle school. I was smoking weed every day.
Okay.
And drinking alcohol every weekend.
Okay.
Then my parents moved down to Florida. This would be Newport Richey, about a half hour outside of Tampa Bay. And I just picked up right where I left off, you know what I mean? For a minute there, I was like a little depressed, you know what I mean? Because I was born and raised in Virginia, so all my friends were like my childhood friends. Like,
It's going to be a tough time, too, because was it right before or high school or like right?
It was actually
During?
the summer going into my sophomore year.
Okay, so you had started a high school up in Virginia and then had to
I
move
did
here.
1 year
Okay.
as a freshman at Chantilly Highlands, which was a high school in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And, dude, I had it made because the whole high school knew my brother and knew my sister. And they had already graduated, and they're like, that's Little Honeycutt. You don't mess with Little Honeycutt.
Big school?
Yeah, definitely. All my brother's friends, a lot of my brother's friends, I mean, were seniors. So I knew all the seniors. I was getting a ride to school from a senior, and, like, no one messed with me. You know what I mean?
So that was
and
that was cool.
I was getting weed from my brother's friend, a senior, and selling it to all the freshmen.
Okay.
So I was like a little weed dealer,
Yeah.
and basically just
You had
getting
to-
high on my own supply, getting high off that.
And then you're plucked out of that and moved
Plucked
to
out of
Florida.
that, and that was difficult for me because I knew no one. I remember like my first day in school, a guy like bumped into my shoulder and was like, what do we got here? What do we got here? And pushing me around. We got a freshman. What do we got here? And I was like, you know what I mean? That would have never have happened at Chantilly. You know what I mean? And I was like, man, I'm just out of my realm. I'm just like out of my comfort zone. I don't know. This is freaky, whatever. Like, I didn't know how to make friends because all my friends were my childhood friends. Like, we just grew up together. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so, yeah, slowly but surely. So I was a little depressed for a while, but slowly but surely, I just kind of fell into that, like, stoner skater crowd and, you know, picked up where I left off, smoking a lot of weed, drinking a lot. I told them, I said, we started making, like, fake IDs. Back then, it was very easy to do. The IDs were like not like they were today, and
less
so
holographic stuff.
And there was no holograms
you
whatsoever or
scan
holographic.
it,
None of that stuff. And all we did was just take like basically a razor blade. I'm 88, so you just scrape off half your 8 to change the 83.
Okay.
And then you
That makes
literally
sense.
could erase the red part underneath that says
Under,
not 21 until age. You literally could just get a regular eraser and just erase it. And we figured that out.
Yeah, okay.
That was really easy to do.
We're resourceful people.
Right. And so, you know what I mean? We're throwing parties and whatnot and keggers and all through high school. Just a lot of experimentation with all kinds of stuff. You know, the hallucinogens and ecstasy and cocaine and you name it, I tried it for sure. And so, but my thing was always weed and alcohol, weed and the booze.
That was your steady.
Yeah. All my friends started to get hardcore into Xanax and Roxy's.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was definitely the epidemic of, you know, the OxyContin days and the pill mills and all that stuff was going on.
Especially down here, more so around that time.
Oh, for sure. And, but I never really fell into it. Don't get me wrong. I experimented with it. You know, I'd done it a few times, but I didn't really get addicted. But what happened was after I graduated high school, I was 18. And at the time, my girlfriend had broke up with me. And I was like really devastated over this. So I was like, I'm going to get those pills. I remember how good they made me feel. So I went and bought the pills, the Roxy's. Next day, did it again. Next day, did it again. Quickly became addicted.
Okay.
And, yeah, and then from there it just progressed. So, you know, a lot of weed smoking, a lot of drinking, and snorting pills.
Were you, did you like just start working right away after high school, or what was that?
No,
like
I
for
went to Pasco Hernando Community College, which is in Newport Richey.
Okay.
And I actually did get my AA degree. I got an Associates in Art. So I actually did graduate.
Okay.
For some reason, school came easily to me.
Very relatable.
I skipped almost every day my senior year.
Yeah.
and even had to do summer classes to make up for it, but I still graduated. I still earned my diploma, and I even walked and everything, shook the principal's hand. But
We have a lot of similarities already, man. I actually had to go to summer school after my senior year because I got caught drinking at senior prom.
Yeah,
And
okay.
they weren't going to let me walk.
They didn't allow me to go to senior prom because I skipped too much school, and so they said, you can't go.
Yeah, man. All right, so very similar there, but yeah, dude.
That is
my
funny.
group of friends that we all, went in the little limo thing, party bus, all got caught drinking, and it was you can't walk. It started as that conversation.
Oh, they didn't let you walk?
Well, that's what it started as, and it wound up being you can walk, but we're not going to give you your diploma until you complete summer school.
Right.
Because they figured, why would I come back? Which
Right.
makes sense. And what we did, my high school, we had like senior week. So like after
Yeah,
that summer,
I remember senior week,
everyone
yep.
would go down rent a shore house, whatever. So it wound up.
Oh, we didn't do all that, but
Wound up being like that same time. So I was supposed to be at this house for 2 weeks, and I had to leave and come back to summer school, and they
that's
just
a
made us
bummer.
clean the school for a week, bro. And it was just.
oh, really? No, I had to actually like.
Well, it wasn't
go
an
to-
academic thing; it was a disciplinary thing.
Gotcha.
You know?
Right.
And they held my diploma hostage.
Yeah, but you did get it though.
Yeah.
Praise God.
At the end of the end of the week, they
we
gave
both
it to me.
we both basically graduated high school by like the skin on our teeth or
Yeah,
whatever
well,
it's called.
academically, I was very good. It just
Yeah, me
was
too.
an easy, not because I tried hard.
Right.
It was just something that
I
it
could
did come
literally,
naturally.
if I applied myself, I probably would have got like straight A's. I
Yeah.
didn't apply myself, and I had B's and C's. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And my summer course, I remember we literally just watched movies, and I got a credit, and I was
For
able
the
to
summer
graduate.
school thing?
Yeah, the summer
Yeah.
school. Like
Yeah.
they make us write a sheet what we learned from the movie. It would be good movies like Rudy or something, or
It was pretty laid back.
Yeah, I remember one was Back to the Future, but it was like, what did Marty learn
Right.
through his adventures? And it was like life lessons, you know what I mean? And that's all it was.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, so did some summer school and was able to graduate. But yeah, so throughout community college, though, same thing. It really came pretty easily, the academics, and was able to graduate, even though I was on drugs. I was doing the Roxys pretty hardcore. At
That was
the
like an
time.
everyday thing now.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely an everyday thing. Smoking a lot of weed and still like partying and drinking like every weekend too. So, and then I transferred, got my AA, and went to USF and moved to Tampa and got my own apartment. And also around this time, this would be December of 2009. That's when my sister was in an accident. She was walking across US 19, Newport Richey, which is a major highway, one of the dangerous like highways in the United States, they say, something like that, or the East Coast. But she was walking across the road, and she got hit by a car that was going like 60 miles per hour, very fast. We don't even really know all the details. Something I really had to work through. That was tough. But yeah, so she was in this really bad accident where she got hit by a car. She had to be placed in a medical-induced coma, and they even had to remove like half her scalp because of the brain swelling. They put it back on, they woke her up, whatever, and she was never the same. So she suffers from a severe traumatic brain injury. And so basically, due to that accident, till this day, she cannot move the entire left side of her body. And so I went and visited her in the hospital, and she, had her head shaved, tubes coming out of her. She was basically a vegetable at that point. She really was. Now, she's made progress since then, but at that moment in time, she was basically a vegetable. I just couldn't deal with that.
That's overwhelming.
You know, I'm already addicted to drugs at the time,
Yeah.
and I was just consumed with fear and depression and just, oh my gosh, I couldn't deal with those emotions. And so what do I know? My solution is I get high. Okay. So it basically just took my addiction and skyrocketed it, basically. Just sped up very quickly within that moment in time because of her accident. And around this time also, I got introduced to crack cocaine. And that brought me to my knees quick.
It'll do that.
Yeah, flunked out of school. I was working like a little part-time job at Taco Bell. Like, I didn't care about anything.
Yeah.
Before the accident, I was still passing and was on my way to graduating, but after the accident and the crack cocaine, no. I didn't care about school. I didn't care about a job. I just cared about getting high. That's it.
Up to that point, you kind of still had all the fronts up, right?
Right.
Everything looked good from the outside.
Yep, the fronts were
holding
up.
it together until the accident with your sister and crack.
Yep, exactly.
Well, that'll do it.
Yeah, that'll do it.
That'll do it.
You know, a major traumatic event and crack.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, flunked out of school, lost my job, whatever, couldn't afford the apartment, blah, blah, blah. I mean, mostly the student loans paying for the apartment anyways, but it just didn't work out, whatever. Moved back in with my parents. They knew something was going on, obviously, but their concentration was on their daughter. She was just in this horrible accident, so they're going to visit her in St. Pete, which is like an hour away, every day in this special hospital. So they really weren't, you know, and I was a young adult at the time, too, whatever it was, like 22, 23. Can't remember the exact age or anything. I could do the math, but they didn't know the extent of my addiction. But
Right, and you're old enough to where they're not, you know, all in your business or whatever.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Young adult.
You had just
so
not
I should
been
be
living
taking care
there.
of myself, but
Yeah.
you know, obviously I'm not. So
You had
I'm like
already
mooching off
been
my parents at
moved
this point.
out and
Yeah.
on your own. So yeah, okay. So now, but yeah, you're back. Obviously, your family's going through a very new, overwhelming time.
Hardship for
So
sure. Definitely very
that
difficult time for the
Made
family.
it in a way
And-
easier for you to just kind of stay under the radar. And,
Yep.
Yeah.
And so, and it progressed, you know, all my addictions got worse, to the point where, yeah, I just became grimy, dude. And, was just like in that world of just the street dwelling, crack house, junkies, prostitutes, dealers. I was just around all that, dude. I was just giving dealers rides, like, just surrounded by junkies, prostitutes, and drug dealers. That was my world. That's what I was in, and that's where I wanted to be, honestly,
I was
at
just
that
gonna say,
time.
you probably enjoyed it at the time.
Yeah,
right?
I did, and it was nuts, dude. It was very dark, very, very dark, and but I didn't want to get sober. I didn't have a desire for that. I wanted to get high, you know, and
Yep.
so I had my little hustles on how to do that and what I did, you know, and just did some grimy stuff that I'm very definitely not proud of, and yeah, then one day my parents are like, "Hey, we're moving down to South Florida. There's better health opportunities with like physical therapy for your sister down in Fort Lauderdale, plus your brother's down there, and he's got all his issues going on with drugs and alcohol as well, and he just had a kid."
Okay.
So they're like, you know, we want to be closer to your brother Troy, to be closer to our grandson and help him with the grandson. He clearly needs help there, and that, you know, with that. So we're going down there. They're like, I guess you could come with us, you know? And so
Yeah.
my thinking at the time, this is how messed up my thinking is, I'm going to go to Broward County and I'm going to get well there, where the epicenter is probably the same, if not worse, with the pill epidemic than Newport Richie.
Okay.
So my thinking is, let's go to Broward County and get clean.
So it was one of those, you know, a geographic change is what I need type
Totally.
of mindset.
Yep.
Okay. Yep.
Definitely. I get there, did not work at all. I was in physical withdrawals and just trying to stay clean on my own, and it did not work whatsoever. Quickly fell back into that world.
Was this the first time you had ever considered or tried to stop?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. It was. And
why?
Why did I want to stop?
Yeah, at that point, what was...
Because...
Was it getting out of hand, you thought? Or?
Yeah, it was getting out of hand.
Okay.
It was just... I was in a dark, dark place of... Right before I even left, I had sold my car for crack.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I was like, who does that? That's insane. You know, it was actually stolen from me. I rented it out, and he never brought it back, and I tried to report it to police.
You gave it away.
They quickly saw track marks all over my arms, and the police would not help me. They were like, you willingly gave your keys to this guy? Yeah. We don't give a crap, all right? Your car is gone. Sorry. They did nothing to help us because they knew I was a junkie. They didn't give a crap about me. And
looking back on it, you're probably like, all right, fair enough.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it was getting out of hand, and it was just crazy. I think deep, deep down, I still wanted to get high, but the environment was just so out of control that I was like, I got to slow down. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because we live in that chaos, and, you know, these crazy, strange things become normal, right?
Totally.
The chaos becomes normal.
The chaos had become normal.
And
And I knew it wasn't normal, though, because once again, I was raised with values and morals and respect. And, like, my parents raised me right to where I knew this was bad.
Yeah, you weren't ignorant to the fact, oh, this is how I grew up. This is how it's going to be. That wasn't the case for me. It wasn't the case for you.
Right.
But you still get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
And,
oh, definitely.
You know, you probably have that internal conflict of, like, well, I know I shouldn't do this, but I also kind of want to, and, well, here I am.
I definitely did have that internal conflict, but it didn't matter because the drugs had total control of me at the time. And it just, every morning I wake up and I said, all right, whatever I got to do to get my fix. Yeah. That was totally my mindset. It didn't matter who you were. Friends, family, random people. You better look out. I'm coming. You know what I mean? I was ripping and running, robbing people, ripping them off on drugs, whatever. Just shady, grimy stuff, dude, for sure. All kinds of stuff. And, so down in Broward County, the same thing happened. I just fell into that world, same exact world, quickly picked up where I left off, and that went on for a while, and it progressed for a long, long while, till finally I did have a desire to get clean. I went to BARC, which is like the Broward, addiction. I don't even know what it stands for. Recovery Center, Broward Addiction. It's a state-funded rehab, yeah. Okay. It's detox rehab.
So it was your first inpatient experience?
Yep, okay. Definitely. And I did that, and no, it didn't work out. What's it called? I went through the detox. They took me to, which was called IRT down in Broward County, which is their 30-day state-funded program. Okay. I was there for like maybe 3 days. The subs started to wear off. I'm starting to feel like crap, and I just didn't like it. And then I was very uncomfortable. Physical withdrawals, and I was like, I'm leaving. And the doctor, I give them props. He did everything he could to try to convince me to stay. He's like, well, before you leave, you have to go talk to this guy. And like
he stall you.
Yeah, he did everything he could. And I was like, you're not gonna convince me. I am leaving. Yeah. So I left, and somehow I manipulated my parents into taking me back. My mom was like, you're not coming home. You're not coming home. And I'm just on the street withdrawing and like, how do I do this? Whatever. And my dad, I found my little way in. And they were definitely enablers too. They didn't know better. You know, they didn't know anything. My dad, you know, they love their kids. You know, you can't blame them. My dad was like, well, we need help moving. And I can't afford movers.
You saw that. You're like,
bingo. He physically couldn't do it on his own. And my brother at the time, he was down Hollywood Beach, just running and gunning on his own. He was sleeping on the beach doing his thing.
Like total homeless.
Total homeless, just running and gunning, and drinking, drugging.
Going into the BARC, IRTC, whatever, were you living at your parents' or were you on the street at that point?
At that time, I was living at my parents'. I'd slept a couple nights on the streets and stuff. They would always just...
But you had a home base still?
Yeah, okay. Definitely. Yeah. Had the home base. I was sleeping on their couch, and slept on their couch for a year, maybe even 2. And, yeah, they would, like, kick me out, whatever, and I'd sleep on the street, but it was only seldom. Okay. Barely happened.
Fair enough.
So anyways, I got in. My dad literally physically, he could not move they were going from Oakland Park to Pompano Beach, which is all in Fort Lauderdale. Okay. Yeah, it's all within the same major city, so it's not like a big move. But they were still moving from little tiny duplex to an apartment, and he needed help. He physically can't do it. So that was my way in. I kind of calmed down at this point, but that night, I remember I got at IRT the same night, and I smoked crack that night. Right. Yeah. And I was trying to go to NA meetings, but I remember having a beer. I remember like scraping weed resin, you know what I mean? And I was like saying I was clean, you know what I mean? Still totally in denial. Yeah. Going to NA, and at this point, like I remember like reading the steps and being like, what the heck is all this crap about, dude? Like, this ain't gonna work for me. Like, I was just totally skeptic, and once again, too, I wasn't in the right mindset because I was still using, you know what I mean? I wasn't clean, you know, I was in denial, telling myself I was when I wasn't.
Because it wasn't as bad or whatever we tell ourselves.
Yeah. And at that point, I didn't have a problem with weed or alcohol, too. I just wanted to quit. By this time, the pills had turned into heroin. I wanted to quit heroin and crack. You know what I mean? I still wanted to drink and smoke.
Right. You just needed to find a way to successfully do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So me, by saying clean, I meant I'm off crack and heroin. You know what I mean?
Which is an accomplishment to some degree, right?
I guess so.
But in the, big recovery
I
picture,
had to learn the hard way later on. I'll tell you about that, how I had to learn from me that it is all abstinent.
It's all the same.
Yeah, it is all the same. It's the only way
people
that
don't
works.
tend to understand that because I get it. It kind of sounds weird. Like, well, no, smoking weed's not the same as doing heroin. It's like, well, it kind of is though.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just like this weird thing to try to explain. But I know
that
what
is
you
very
mean.
weird to explain.
Yeah.
But for me, the weed is a gateway drug. The alcohol is a gateway drug. And I am an alcoholic for sure and an addict, but saved by the grace of God. But those substances will lead to other hardcore substances.
Every
100%
time to the same place.
Right.
Yeah, that was my experience too. Yeah.
So this went on kind of for a couple years of just on and off. I would kind of I got a little job at Jimmy John's driving sandwiches, and I would do my thing and make my tip money and go get my cap of heroin, my rock of crack, whatever. And I just want to get out of control, and it would go on though to progress to where it start getting out of control. I'd start stealing from my parents, doing the old army crawl into my mom's room at night to get into her purse, dude.
Yeah.
I became an expert, honestly,
man.
at ninja tactics of stealing. And it would progress, and my parents would be like, "You can't do this. You got to get out. You can live here, but you can't steal from us. So just get out." And then I would come back, whatever, or I would just tone down for a while. And even sometimes I remember I would quit the crack and heroin, and I would just be drinking and smoking pot. And I remember one time, I'm at a stoplight, got my windows rolled down, blasting music, and this guy next to me pulls up and is like, "Yo, you party?" And I was like, "Heck yeah!" And he's like, "Pull on over." Gives me a sample, crack and heroin.
Oh,
boom.
man.
And so he knows I'm calling him back
Yeah.
1 hour later,
He
and
knew
that's
he was
what would
doing.
happen. And this would happen just for years. This went on of just kind of progress to where it gets really bad, and I'd be like, all right, I gotta tone down.
Yeah.
It's out of control. I gotta tone down so I don't get kicked out of my parents' house, whatever. Let me tone it down and kind of just
pushing the limits.
Right.
Push it, and then feel the consequences. Or it's getting a little hot, so tone it down, and just going back and forth like that.
Yeah, and so definitely. And so what happened was, I was 29 years old, living at my parents', and at this time it was 2017. Oh, actually, I could tell a quick little story where it was I tell this often, the beginning of the end of my addiction, to where I'm driving to Jimmy John's, and remember, at this time in my life, my addiction comes first. And so, once again, every day was that just wake up, okay, whatever I got to do to get my fix. And at this time, I had my Jimmy John's job, so that kind of supplied it to where I didn't have to get out of control and rob and steal or whatever. And though that stuff would still happen here and there, conning, manipulating. I became a very big con artist because I wasn't a good thief. Back in my day, I was car hopping, did some jail time for that, and
Okay.
I was so I stopped doing that, stealing. I stole from the people that loved me the most, you know what I mean? Because they wouldn't send me to jail or whatever, which is horrible, I know, but that's just what I knew would work. So I became a big con artist. I would go in a parking lot and give someone some sob story that my baby needs diapers. I didn't have a baby. Or my car ran out of gas. I didn't have a car. You know what I mean? And 9 out of 10 times it would not work. But that 1 out of 10 times it would. And then I would just keep going until I got enough to cop. You know what I mean? So I became a very big con artist, manipulator. Yes, once again, stealing, lying, cheating, just you name it. You know what I mean? And so one day, though, I stolen some 20s out of my dad's wallet, and we're supposed to give my sister a shower because they allowed me to live there so long as I helped out my sister. Remember,
she's back at home now?
Yeah,
Okay.
she's back. She went through a hospital it was a whole year till she actually came home, and my parents became their caregivers, mainly my dad even. So I help him with the shower, just in the fact that, remember, she can't move the left side of her body, so I have to help. He's got a bad shoulder, lift her physically from the hospital bed that's at our home now, to her wheelchair, to her shower chair, and then back again when he's done with the shower. So I know we're about to do that, and once again, he's an enabler. My dad, as long as I did that, he'd buy me beer and stuff. You know what I
Okay.
mean? So sometimes I would even tone down, but then the beer, not every night.
You always had that underlying something going
always
on.
drinking, always
Yeah.
smoking pot. So there would be many nights where I would just drink a 4-pack or 2 and go to bed, and it'd be a normal night, whatever. But then that would progress to where like, oh, I'll just go get one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you're
that
out
would
for 3 days.
That would out for,
Yeah.
and I would be out for 3 days, dude. I remember this one time. Oh my gosh, I'm with a lady of the night, and we're using. I guess I OD'd because I really don't remember it, but I OD basically in this crack house. And I wake up, and my freaking mom and brother are there trying to pull me out of this place.
Oh,
and
no.
I'm like, get off me. What are you doing, blah, blah. And they're like, you OD'd, bro. We just woke you up or whatever. I've been out. I don't even know what was going on. I didn't want to leave. You know what I mean?
Of course not.
I thought I had all my drugs and my
Yeah.
money. They were all gone.
Yeah.
And I was like, where's my shit, bro? Excuse my French there. Where's my stuff? And I'm like, he's like, you got nothing left, dude. They robbed your ass. You
You've
know
been
what I
laying
mean?
here
Like,
for
you know what
hours.
happens. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. They went through all my pockets, and like, it was just crazy, man. So that crazy stuff was still going on for sure. But
How
once
did
again,
your mom find you here?
What do you mean?
You were in a crack house. There, you wake up to them.
So my brother also knew.
He knew where you were hanging out. Okay.
My brother knew the house.
Okay,
To
okay.
where like I would go to. It was a common house like in the hood.
Got you.
Which was just around the corner from my parents' apartment. They lived in a very nice area in Pompano called Palm Air, but just around the corner from Palm Air was Kaya City, and this was a rough neighborhood, bro.
So he knew where to come find you.
He did, and he came and found me. It was crazy. So once again, that crazy stuff was still going on, but then I like in that instance be like, all right, I need to tone it down. I kind of just dial it back some. You know what I mean? And then we progress again to where that crazy stuff was happening.
Right.
ODing, and just I even tried at one time renting a room from a guy. He kicked me out for using. You know what I mean? Like I would tone it down for a while, and then it would just get out of control. To where I remember one time I was up in my room renting this room from this guy. His name was Ricky. Had to make amends with him, and I did. Eventually in my step work. I remember doing like snorting a line of heroin, and then I woke up and it was like 3 hours later, and my whole arm was numb. And I was like, what happened? I snorted that line 3 hours ago. I was like, I guess I OD'd, And I was like, I hope my arm goes back to normal.
Yeah.
I was thinking about going to the hospital, but like 2 hours later, it did go back to normal.
Damn.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I was, by the grace of God, I always just woke up. I never once got Narcaned.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, me
and
neither.
who knows how many times that happened, bro? I
Right.
can't remember a lot of times.
I'm not sure if it was a few seconds or
Right.
a few hours.
Exactly.
Honestly, could have been either one. Right?
Yeah. So anyways, I stole this money out of my dad's wallet, and I leave the house to go cop, and I was driving very, very fast because he's blowing me up on the cell phone like, where'd you go? We're giving Janelle a shower. And I'm like, I'll be back any minute. He's like, what? You left the house? Come on, man. What are you doing? He's yelling at me. So I'm flying down this windy road in Palm Air. I hadn't copped yet, but that's what I was going to do. And I hit a puddle. Excuse me. And I hydroplaned, and the car started fishtailing, and it's out of control, and I can't control it, and it's about to have a head-on collision with this guy, this close to this head-on collision. And I know you guys can't see me, but it was like an inch away from a head-on collision, literally. It fishtailed just in that moment in time, and I hit a palm tree. Palm tree goes over, knocked this thing over. Car is smoking like crazy. It's all smashed in. Next thing I know, this bystander's pulling me from the driver's side window because the door was jammed. I honestly think he thought the car was about to catch fire because there was a lot of smoke, a lot of black smoke. It didn't, luckily. And I'm sitting on the grass on this hill looking at this destruction I just caused. Almost killed this guy, almost killed myself. All I can think is, oh, great, I got to deal with all this bullcrap now.
Yeah.
Don't get to get my drugs.
Yeah.
That was my thinking when I almost just killed people, dude. That's how twisted
Sick.
my thinking was at that time. Horrible. And,
That's what it becomes, man.
yeah.
So self-absorbed and so self-centered and just only driven for one thing. Everything else is in the way.
Exactly.
Yep.
And that's so true. You put the nail on the head there. So you thought that would be enough. It wasn't. I'm almost there. I actually got high hopes after this. I said, I'm going to go get a good job and like, I'm going to turn my life around.
After this little accident thing?
Yeah, after this I lost my car and my job all in that moment because I was driving for Jimmy John's.
Okay.
So no job, no car now.
Right.
You think I'd be like, all right, let me get it together here.
Eh,
Nah. So
not
I'm
yet.
like, I did have that thought, but my thoughts were, I'm just going to quit the hard drugs, still going to drink and smoke pot. I'm going to turn it all around.
Looking back on it now, you thought and tried this over and over and over again, right? Like I'll just tone it down and it'll be fine. And every time it's not fine.
Yeah.
But we tell ourselves the next time will be different.
Right. And I'm never sober. I'm still drinking and
Yeah.
smoking pot the whole
But
time.
that's part of that literal insanity, right?
Yep. It was complete
Repeating
insanity.
the same thing,
Yep.
expecting a different result. Well, I'm just going to cut this out and I'll just drink and smoke or whatever your I'll just do thing is.
And every time, though, I still went back to those drugs, too.
Yeah. But
just complete insanity.
time after time after time, and I was the same way. I get this. Time after time after time, it always ended the same way.
Yeah.
But
unfortunately,
I would convince myself that this time will be different.
Right.
It's
That's
literal,
the disease
literal
right there,
insanity.
bro. Yeah,
man.
that's the disease
so,
of addiction right
so
there.
crazy.
Alcoholism.
Yeah.
It's true that this time would be different, and it never was.
Never. And it
Ever.
was a lot of times worse the next time.
It always got worse.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
It progressively got worse.
So sick and crazy.
It is sick and crazy, and that's where my thinking was at that time. Sick and crazy,
Yeah.
man.
So sick, you didn't know you were sick.
Yeah,
I was one of them.
Well, it's denial.
Yeah.
You're in
Yeah.
deep in denial
Yeah.
of just. I
It's
remember
not
one time
that
my
bad.
dad was like, "You're high."
Yeah.
And I literally looked him square in the eyes and was like, I'm fine. I'm not high. I was blitzed out of my mind, bro.
Yeah.
And I literally was trying to tell him I'm fine. I'm not high.
Yeah.
Craziness.
Yeah.
And
So this accident happens, and you're kind of back
I
to
get high hopes, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to turn it all around. So I found a good job, and it was selling like pool products at this near my parents. So I could like Uber, ride a bike. Like it was close by. It was a good paying job with a lot of overtime. So I had high hopes. I stopped using the hard drugs, still drinking, still smoking pot, and my first check came. I think I did the right thing, like gave it to my mom. Then the second check came, and I was like, I'm just going to have one. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Well, what happened was Friday I got paid, started with just one. It went the whole weekend of just partying. And so the whole entire weekend, I had not slept the entire weekend. Monday morning comes, and I'm still half drunk, tweaked out, whatever, you know what I mean? I haven't slept at all, completely sleep deprived. I'm falling asleep at my desk. My boss like, look, you need to go home, clean yourself up. I looked him square in the eyes, and I truly believed this, and I said, this will never happen again. Next week, I did the exact same thing.
Yeah, famous last words, right? Yeah.
The exact same thing, bro, to a T. Literally, I'm just going to get one. And Friday, I get one, and it led into a weekend of partying.
Days disappear.
Right, just totally partying all weekend. Sleep deprived Monday morning, tweaked out, half drunk, coming down, whatever, like still just completely out of it, sleep deprived. Anyways, I get to work Monday morning, and he's like, you're going in the warehouse to do inventory. And so they're pool products. So there's these gigantic pool products, but there's also all these tiny little nuts, bolts, and screws. And I got to count these things. Bro, I can't
Wait, you have to, or you
Yeah.
thought you had to?
No. He told me to do
Okay.
inventory. So I
Okay.
have to count these.
Okay.
That was my assignment for the day or whatever.
Okay.
And I felt like he knew maybe, and he just did that. But I don't know. Anyway, so I'm trying to count all these little, so tedious nuts, bolts, and screws. I can't keep my eyes open. I can't keep track of the number. And I'm like, I just got to go over in this corner real quick and shut my eyes real quick. So I do that. I wake up. Boss is standing above me. He's like, get the hell out of here. You're fired.
Yeah.
And that's when, after that, that's what really something changed in me. I fell into a deep depression. This went on for about 8 months of a deep depression, literally only sleeping 12 to 14 hour days, dude. 100%. 12 to 14 hour days.
You were sleeping?
Yeah,
all
or
day?
just in bed.
Yeah, okay.
Sleeping or in bed.
Right.
Like I would wake up after 8 hours of sleep and just be like, I don't care about life. I'm going back to sleep.
Yeah.
You know? And I just had lost all hope and was completely broken. And the only reason I would get out of bed is if, like, my dad bought me beer, I would get up and go get my alcohol, or if I came up with some lie, manipulation, or hustle to get drugs, you know, which wasn't happening often, but it was still happening, you know, and that was the only reason I was getting out of bed. Like, I had no will to live. I was at the point where I became so miserable. I didn't want to kill myself, but I didn't want to live anymore. And I just could not look myself in the mirror. I couldn't look anyone in the eyes. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror, and I just became so disgusted with the person I had become. I was like, how did it get to this? You know, it started out was fun, parties, keggers, you know, smoking some blunts and joints with the buds, you know, partying it up, to this is a dark, dark place I am. I am miserable and depressed and hate myself to my core. Like, I just hated the person I was. I was not raised this way. Morals, values, respect, all that was gone, out the window.
Long gone, too.
Long gone, yeah.
Crossed that line a long
But I
time
had
ago.
to just go that far to where it was like just disgusted with myself.
Yeah. And that's, you know, you hear people, it takes what it takes.
Yep.
And it usually takes a lot.
Yeah, my addiction was probably even worse back in Newport Richie at points, but I didn't feel like that though. I didn't feel
the
like
mental
this
and
that
emotional toll takes longer to catch up sometimes.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
So the
Plus,
addiction,
when you're at, like, I think a lot of times at the height of using, you're so numb and you know, just nonstop.
Totally
you
numb.
don't have
totally
enough,
numb to emotions.
Yeah, you don't have enough time
felt
or
emotions since I was
awareness
15
to
years
even
old.
be upset, right? You're just on go. So it's like, you know, it slows down, and in a way, that's when it starts to catch up a little bit.
Definitely. And it caught up in a big time, man. I was just 29 years old, living in my parents' house. My mom's like, what are you going to do with your life? And I'm like, I don't know. But if I turn 30 and I'm still living at my parents', I'm going to kill myself.
Okay.
And I meant it, dude.
Yeah.
I meant it. You know, it chokes me up a little bit because I meant it, man, with a passion. She's like, what do you mean? What are you going to do? Go get a job. And I was like, I can't get a job. I'll get a check, and I'm right back in that vicious cycle. I'm going to do the exact same thing I just did 8 months ago. Like, I just know it. And something hit me like a ton of bricks, bro. And it wasn't like an audible voice or anything like that. It was just a small, still voice in the back of my head. And it wasn't me. And it said, you need help. And I was like, Mom, I need help. I need to go to rehab. And she was like, oh, great. I just heard this public service announcement on Moody Radio. This guy said, where there's dope, there's hope. Give Dynamic Life a call. She hands me a number. I don't do any research. I don't Google them. I don't go on their website. Nothing. I was so desperate, man. I was ready to change. Like, truly, it hit that rock bottom. Was like, I'm ready for a different way of living. I just need to know how. I didn't know how to get
You're
clean.
ready for that option.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
At 29, I've been using drugs and alcohol for all of my adult life. I maybe had like 2 weeks in jail where I was clean because I was in jail, but I wasn't sober up in the mind because as soon as I got out, I went right back to it. You know what I mean? So I was just completely numb, no emotions, didn't know how to be a man, whatever. Anyway, so yeah, I give Dynamic Life a call just to kind of fast forward due to time constraints because...
Was that radio commercial, was it Roger?
Yeah.
It was Roger?
It was Roger.
Him, where there's dope, there's hope?
Yeah.
His
that
little
was,
commercial?
Totally.
Cool.
That was Roger.
So your mom gives you the number and you call?
Yeah, and spoke to Kathy Palmer. She was like, you need health insurance. I call at that time the Obamacare. They're like, good thing you called us. The cutoff time is in 1 week.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was a grace by God, which I didn't realize at the time. I was like, oh, that's lucky.
Yeah.
You know what I
Oh, that's
mean?
good timing.
I look back now and I just see all these God moments in my life, dude.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And so I get signed up for the Obamacare, and 1 week before the cutoff, right? Because that was in December, and then next thing I know, and you know, there's a whole story of, you know, my mom trying to get me to the detox in Stewart, to where I stole money from her purse and her credit cards, and I took my luggage and chucked it in the woods. And I'm walking around Stewart asking people, where's the hood?
Oh,
you know what I mean?
man.
Where can I find drugs here?
Yeah.
And people are looking at me like a psycho and
Yeah.
like ready to call the cops on me, like, get out of here.
Yeah.
I found what I needed to find, but it didn't quite suit me good enough. You know what I mean? I was like, I got to get back down to Pompano. And so I truly thought that I could walk from Stewart to Pompano. So I thought I could make that walk.
Which
it's
is
like an hour drive.
right? Yeah.
I thought I was going to walk it. So there's a whole story
more
there.
insanity.
Yeah, more insanity. I had to get that last run in, basically.
Yep.
And there's a whole story behind that. But basically, the next morning, the detox, Coastal Detox sent a driver, and he picked me up. And I'm in the bathroom still smoking crack, doing lines of heroin, like I think even chugging down a beer, doing all of it, all my DOCs. And, even probably smoking a bowl of weed. Like I was doing all of it one last time. And then my mom's like, knock on the bathroom. You got to go. The driver's here. And I'm like, all right, finishing up. I hop in the car. And that would be the last time that
you used.
Yep. That would be the last time. And don't get me wrong, man. I got the detox. And I was like, oh, that's right. So I got accepted into Dynamic. I got the insurance. I called Kathy back. And they were like, yeah, we're going to scholarship you. You know what I mean? We're going to scholarship you into Dynamic, for anywhere for 30 to 90 days of treatment here at Dynamic Life in Fort Pierce, Vero Beach, Florida. And I'm like, all right, cool, But I went to a different detox coastal. While I'm in there, I'm like, I can go back home. I don't need to go to treatment. Like,
while you're
still,
in detox, you're thinking
I still am in that stinking
like, this is
thinking.
all I needed.
Yeah, and they got me on Suboxone and Ativan, all kinds of stuff, And
well, I'm good.
That small, still voice came back again and was like, nope. Don't do it. Stay the course.
Okay.
Go to Dynamic. And I was just like, all right. You know what I mean? Like, and so I arrive at Dynamic Life January 11th, 2018, which is my sober date.
Okay.
I don't count detox, and that's just a personal choice.
Fair enough.
And I walk in, two guys on the balcony, fish, fish, fish. I was like bullied a little bit, the early days for sure. Everyone called me like Squirrel, you know what I mean? Like,
you are still in my phone as Squirrel Jason.
I saw that. And I was like, you still got me in there as Squirrel, you son of a gun. Yeah, you know what I mean? But they were just giving me a hard time. I started playing cards with them and stuff too and whatever. But so Roger comes up to me, Pastor Roger Paul, and he's like, yeah, that was me on the public service announcement. This is a faith-based program. And I literally...
Had you known that at this point? Okay.
No, I had no clue. I looked at him and I said, I can't believe... And Roger tells this story so much better because I was completely shot out. I barely remember it. But I said to him something along the lines of, I can't believe my mom sent me to a damn faith-based program.
Yeah.
Get this out of my face, you know? And he was like, all right, no worries. Walked away. Well, a couple of days later... Pastor Kyle Bailey, the associate pastor at the time, he says, is your way working? And I was like, clearly not. I am spiritually bankrupt. I just want to die. I'm homeless. I don't have a dollar to my name. I'd written so many bad checks in Fort Lauderdale. I literally defrauded every bank in Fort Lauderdale, bro. And like, so not to mention a dollar to my name, like I was like horrible credit score, like just, it was bad. Not a dollar to my name, no car, no job, homeless, spiritually bankrupt, no morals, no values. God, dude, at that point, I was either so far from God that I didn't even believe. I was just like, I mean, there's something out there, but I don't know what it is.
You didn't have time for that,
yeah,
right?
I didn't have time for that.
Yeah.
I wasn't one of those people that still had a relationship with God, even in using. No way whatsoever. I was a straight sinning madman, like
on the loose.
Yeah, just complete darkness. The devil was my father, 100%, bro. And so Kyle's like, okay, we get it. Your way's not working. We get it, kid. Like, And he's like, we're just asking you to try something different. And that's all it took to where I opened my mind, became willing to go to church, go to these like Mark II classes at the time they were called, where you just basically learn about God and the Bible and Jesus and faith. And you just learn about it, And I'm going to the AA meetings and the NA meetings. They're drilling into me. I was doing therapy with Miss Violet, and the whole center is drilling into me. Get a home group, get a sponsor, work the 12 steps, you know what I mean? So for the first time in my life, man, I shut up and I listen. I never done that. As you know, I'm the talker, and like I'm always talking my way out of things. I'm always manipulating, like lying, and just using my mouth, to get what I want.
Gift to the gab.
Yeah, like that's what I always did, and it worked, man. You know what I mean? Not always, but it did work. So for once, I just said, all right, I don't know everything. I'm going to shut up and I'm going to take suggestions because I don't know how to live drug and alcohol free.
Yeah.
And so going to these classes and, something just clicked, that small, still voice. Before I did any step work or even had a sponsor, I remember it was like 3 days into Doc. His real name's Keith, but he was a doctor, so everyone called him Doc. He was like, "You believe in God?" And I was like, "I don't know, man. I don't know what I believe in." But he took me under his wing, started schooling me on stuff. I went home and in apartment 1 at Dynamic.
Which is where we met.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they put me in there, the room that goes to the left.
Mm-hmm.
I got down on my knees. I got down on my knees, and I truly surrendered to God. I said, "God, I don't even know if you do exist. But I'm just going to open the door to that belief and that faith that you do. I'm going to believe you do exist. And if you do, Lord, I need your help. I don't know how to live drug and alcohol free. And that's my desire. And so I need your help, Lord. I need your help to create a new way of life, and however that looks, I don't know. But I need your help. Please, God, help me." I cried out to him, and something hit me like a ton of bricks too. 2 weeks later, an alumni came and shared his story. That was Louis.
Okay.
Yep, I think you remember him.
Yeah.
He shared his story, and he was like, "What are you gonna do different?" All like real loud, yelling at people.
He's passionate, right?
Yeah, he's passionate. What are you gonna do different? And I said, I got to put it all down. I can't drink. I can't smoke. I am an alcoholic. Before I couldn't admit that before. That took me 2 weeks into rehab to admit I was alcoholic.
Just to get to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I still, before that, kind of still had the desire to drink and smoke. I just wanted
Sure.
to quit the hard drugs again.
Yep.
And so finally I said, this thing's got to be all abstinent. And secondly, what I'm going to do different, I'm not going to do it alone. Because I'd only ever tried alone. This time, I'm going to accept the help that's being offered right now,
Yeah.
And, man, did God take me and just shoot me out of a cannon.
From that moment.
Yeah.
That was a turning point.
I started reading the Bible, going to church. I got baptized on, like, February 3rd. Thinking by that time it was... 2018. February 3rd, 2018, or somewhere around there, early
Is
February.
when you got baptized?
Yeah.
Okay.
At Freedom
At
Church.
Freedom? Did Kyle or Roger? Or?
Kyle did it.
Yeah.
Kyle did it. Kyle was my spiritual mentor. And Freedom Church and Denny Nystrom, the owner of Dynamic, were scholarshiping me through Dynamic. I did 3 months in the treatment center. 2 weeks after I graduated, coined out, whatever you want to call it, they're like, "Center shutting down. It's now a sober living." So we're living in the residence that's still there now, the resident apartments in Vero Beach. So we continue to live there. We're living there the whole time. They were transporting us to the center.
Yep.
And the center shut down, but the residence was still in there, and it was a sober living. And I stayed there for another year. So altogether, I was at Dynamic a year and 3 months, and man, did it change my life. Absolutely changed my life. My part was just being willing and open and honest. I just got real with myself, man. And I remember at one point I looked at the piece of paper Dynamic gave me. It's like level 1, level 2, level 3. By the time I met you, I was on level 3 because I was working a job. And I was like, how am I going to get through level 1?
Right.
Because at that time, I didn't even know how to put 3 days together, clean and sober, and they want me to do all this, that, and the other. You just put one foot in front of the other, you know, and don't pick up no matter what.
Yeah.
And I learned so many tools of recovery. I went through the steps. Those steps gained all this healing and freedom through the therapy, too, at Dynamic. That was a big help, too. I went through therapy, be able to talk to a therapist, one-on-one, group therapy. Dealt with the issues with my sister, you know what I mean? And coming to terms with that and accepting that and how, her condition today, and she has made tremendous progress, but she's still in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
She's still disabled. And so...
Things you're able to deal with today.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, a lot was happening in my life to where, I got a car, or I got a job. I saved up, got a tax return, had a little help from my parents, and got a car. Things started happening. I felt good again, and in the beginning, I was so shot out, though. Let me tell you, I didn't know left from right or up from down. But once
But
again,
things started turning around.
Yeah, it just takes time. It just takes time.
Yeah.
And so,
I'll tell you what, Jay. Let's take this time here to take a break.
sure.
Kind of hit like halftime, let's say.
Yeah, it's
Went
been a
through,
while.
Went
Sorry.
through. No, we're good. Went through what got you up to that point, and now we're a little into like after we met, right? We're
Yeah.
a few months in.
Yeah,
things
we
have turned
did.
around.
We hit that, right.
But you're young, right? You're still
young.
beginning.
Yep,
So,
very early sobriety.
yeah. So let's take a break here, and then we'll jump into some more of that.
Okay.
All right. Cool.
Sounds great.